Okay, so we started here. So I wrote some things down, but I might not really see. But it's also with respect to the chapter of the book of Genesis, chapter 14, that we talked about, or we're talking about. And it's just important to also share some insight with us so that at least we're on the same, we're on the same page, with regards to that. Okay, so there are a couple of things that we need to note, which are resources. Remember, one of the things we talked about, maybe it was not here. Fortitude is the theme of the season. So that means that we need to have enough to be able to contend with things and to be able to contend for things. Okay, so we need resources and then we need capacity to be able to have or to move in those resources that we have. So a couple of important things to note here in that were things that were in the market. In the market, in the sense that these were the things that were traded. We had food, which is the lowest. If everything you're doing is for the food to eat, you are at the poorest level. Okay, so just note that. So we have food, we have land, we have labor, that's working people working, then we have money, and then we have grains. So one of the things you remember at the very beginning is the fact that Joseph gathered grains, okay, all throughout Egypt. Now, how? Because he knew that there's a season of scarcity that's coming. And in a season of scarcity, it changes people's mind to be scarcity minded. Okay, they're always thinking of limited resources. And so it's important for you to have the point of best trade of advantage for you is when you use the unlimited things to trade for the limited things. Do you get what I mean? So that means you have unlimited resources and then you use that to take what is limited from people. That means that before the scarcity season comes, you must have grown in your own resources to a place where it is almost unlimited. Remember, the Bible said that the grains that Joseph gathered were almost uncountable and unlimited. Okay, so that was almost like a billionaire status in that time with regards to Joseph's strategy. So there were also two seasons that I will need you to note. So there's a season of farming. So this is a climatic condition. Farming is a climatic, so like climate, meaning that it's a persistent season or a persistent narrative over a period of time. That's climate. Now we had waste. The Bible said that the land laid waste after a season. Now that is a weather condition. That means it is just periodic. Okay, it's important to understand this nomenclature as I continue with this. So let us go down how the transactions happen and how there was a wealth transfer to Joseph and there was a wealth depletion or diminishment from the people. Remember that every time you hear that there's a wealth transfer, it means people are going to get poorer so that a few can become richer. That has always been the pattern. So you'd always now want to decide whether you're a part of the few who get wealthier, the part of the majority who gets poorer. So let's just go into it. I wrote some things, and so that's what I'm using to explain to you. I said Joseph used when the first point of trade came, people were hungry. Remember, food is the lowest form of poverty in this season. So people became hungry and they said, okay, what can we do? We have money. We need grains. Let us give you money. Remember, Joseph did not have money at that time. He had unlimited grains. Money was with the people. So they said, we have money. We need grains. You have grain. Let us trade our money for your grains, right? Okay, that's good. So the first point of trade happened. Transfer of money for grains. So after they have spent all their money to get the grains the limited money could get, they still had wants because they were already bound to scarcity mentality. They are always thinking of how to consume. what to consume. They're not thinking productive. Think about that. So now there was no more money, like I mentioned. They still needed food. So food will still remain something that is persistent. So what do they do? Because they did not have money anymore, they had the next thing in line, which was their livestock. Now, their livestock is usually in our own contemporary terms. Our livestock would be our investable capital, the money we set aside that it used to generate more money for us. That's our livestock. So they had investments. So they liquidated their investments in order to get money to buy grain. But here is where it's quite interesting. Now, they did not even just liquidate their investment to get money, they sold their stocks. Not having the money, they sold their stocks and their bond. That's why it's called livestock. Okay, it's a form of investment. They sold their livestock and investment directly to Joseph in exchange for grain. So now they no longer had money. Two, they no longer had investments anymore because they've liquidated all their investment. They've sold the deeds of their investment to Joseph in order to have grain. Number, understand, Joseph still had unlimited grains, but now he had all the money of the people. Now he now has all the investments of the people. I want you to begin to see how the economics of this began to grow for Egypt. So now they traded their livestock for food, so they sold it to the market. Now, the scripture says that this happened for a year. So that means they had a 12 calendar month, a harvest season to enjoy the benefits of the grains they got. So the grains could only last them. And after that cycle, after a year, remember, the year is when they needed to go back to their investment to get dividends from their investment. But now, because they have sold the deeds of their investment, they did not have any dividends. So they were poor. It's poverty pro max for them. And so now they realize how poor they are. They needed to look at what is the next thing that they have. And so what did they do? The next thing they had was land. So they said, but they had land and labor, two things. So they are selling two things on the table. They are selling their land and they are selling themselves as labor. Okay, it's a double return on investment for Joseph. So he said, buy us and buy our land so that we can get these grains as well. So a land is an investment that always accrue. Labor, skill is an investment that also has the susceptibility to continue to grow and to have demand. They sold that to Egypt, to Joseph. So that means they had no way of producing subsistently for themselves anymore. So they became servants of Joseph or Egypt, as the case may be. Now, the moment Joseph has obtained their servitude, now he told them that he gave them grains and then gave them a wisdom for that grain. He said, now take this grain, take this plant seed, grow it, invest it, and then when you make returns from that investment, you are, by law, you must give back 20% tax. You must pay 20% tax to the government because it's the government that is giving you now the land and now the labor that you own. So that means that the land that is now the government, the reason why is the land has become the government. They are working on the land that has become that of the government. They are using labor, which is themselves, which have become servants of the state. And so both of them working together, there is something for them, but they must always, so there's a lifetime taxation system where they always bring 20% tax back into the government. I don't know how much tax Nigerian government gets cumulatively, so income tax, company tax, VAT. If I have an accountant in the house or someone who does that, help us calculate how much tax, so of your yearly income as a business, as a person, how much tax do you eventually pay? I don't know, maybe it's like 30% or something of that sort. And then let's have the numerical value. That would actually be very nice to know. And so the way to secure this from a governmental point of view is to create a policy that enforces that taxation. So what Joseph did was he made it a rule, a law, a policy that because now your land is for the government, your skill is now for the government, your life is for the government. Everything that you work on, it is no longer 100% yours. A part of it must of necessity comes to the government. Look at what we have today. Who owns the land? The government. When did the government start owning land? It has been from generations to generations. Okay? And so how can you get land? You have to pay. And even on that land, you have to constantly pay tax, Land Renewal Act, and all of that. If you're renting a property, you have to pay rent. Out of that rent, the landowner also pays tax. So I've mentioned before that taxation is one of the instruments of wealth transfer. And I'm going to end this with this. There are three things that I've been heralding for a while now, which are the totems, if I could use that term, of wealth transfer. Number one is taxation. You cannot avoid taxation. The only way to become a beneficiary of taxation is to have people that you tax as well. That means that your business model must have some subscription base to it in such that periodically people get to pay you. What is the goal of this? The goal of this is such that you will never have to bother about the taxation you give to the government anymore, because the tax you get from people actually pays for the tax that you give the government. Remember, wealth is about giving you freedom, giving you time. You're actually buying your time back with taxation. So I'll give you an example that you can relate with. If you have enough money in your account and you always get interest on your account, your money will get to a point where no how much tax you get, maybe service charge tax, ATM tax, debit tax, credit tax. You know that every time money comes into your account and money leaves your account, you get taxed. It's a poor person that would begin to, oh my God, this guy's 4 naira, 52 naira. Anytime I make ATM transfer, this and this, it means that there's still that poverty, that scarcity mentality. What you need to think of, what can I do that this account makes so much that no matter how much is taxed, it does not remove from my principal. The problem is where poverty ensues is that taxation is hitting your principal. So that means you have 100,000 naira in your account. Every time you begin to be taxed, it's removing, now it's 99,000, it's 98,000. It's reducing your principal, and that's making you poorer. What you need to do instead is invest your money somewhere and make sure that the dividends that you get from that investment actually covers for all forms of taxation. When that happens, metaphorically, it means you free your hands from the government. So that means the government does not have a hold on you, on your time and on your freedom. Because what is working for you is actually what is now paying you. So you can have time to grow your principal. That's how to get wealthy. So taxation is the first thing. The second thing is tokenization. Artificial intelligence, blockchain technology has even made tokenization something easy, and that is where the world is going into. Tokenization is going to be the platform upon which the next global currency is going to come on. And so do not start leveraging on that when it's too late. Begin to build on that now. Have a tokenized business model. I don't have to tell you all of that. Google is your friend. Research on tokenization and see how you can benefit from that. But tokenization runs on communities as well. Taxation runs on communities as well. So if you're here doing some form of business and you don't have a community around your business, you don't have an email list, you are on IG and you don't have IG channels or these things that appear in people's inbox as subscriptions for community, begin to think in those terms, because community is what makes taxation work. Community is what makes tokenization work. And so you need to begin to leverage on that. Get the data of the people who do business with you and form a community, and that's how you can begin to leverage on taxation and tokenization. The third part is trading upwards, making sure that every time you're using your money is not depleting you. You are spending money on things that increase you. So you are growing your skill, you're expanding your business, whatever that case is. Anything that makes you go up, improves the quality of your network, improves the quality of the people you have access to. That is how to use your money in this season. Because whether you realize it or not, we're in a state of farming. It may not even have appeared fiscal now, it might still be a bit mental and economical. The price of things have gone up. That's letting you know that there's scarcity in the land. Price of fuel, price of land, price of food, price of transportation, everything. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We're in that season, and you need to determine whether you'll be in Joseph's camp or you'll be in the people's camp. Joseph's camp is the place where all the money flows to. The people's camp is the place where all the money flows from. And wherever money flows from, they get poorer. Wherever money flows to, they get richer. So this is the wisdom that I have for you. And I hope that, yes, that's all I have for us today. And I really do hope that you make something to do with it. Don't just listen to it. Take action points that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the things that I'll do intentionally about my spiritual decisions, about my financial decisions, and about political decisions. So I hope this has actually been good for you. We'll see you on the other side.